Okay, welcome. Today, I am so excited, you guys. Casey Eberhart here from Los Angeles, California, and I want to welcome each and every one of you to the Expand the Business podcast. So I appreciate you wherever you're listening to us from, whether it's Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes, whatever. I want to welcome you here to Expand the Business. If, by the way, you have not jumped on expandthebusiness.com and got your free goodies as well as your ability to get more referrals, we got a download over there at expandthebusiness.com, and would love to have you go jump over there if what we talk about makes sense. So, guys, we are super excited here at the show today because I was able to somehow wrangle a very good friend of mine to be on the show today, and she's a firecracker. I'm going to tell you, like we talk a lot about on the show, expanding the business, how to help business owners just like you save time and or make more money. And she's kind of a whip cracker. Like she is a no BS kind of gal. And we've done several projects together. She's a speaker, a trainer, a consultant, a business owner, an entrepreneur, an investor. Most importantly, a mother and a daughter, and we'll get into all of that. She is the author of 2+ books, and I say plus because I know there's another one that's either just about to launch or we just launched it or we're just getting close to launching it. But her first book was fantastic. Her first book was called Jackpot: How to Build a $1 Million Business in Las Vegas Without the Casinos. It is available. I'm sure she can get you a copy. You'll head over to RechelleShaw.com, and I'll talk to Richelle and introduce you guys in a second. Her book that literally changed how I look at businesses is one of the most powerful books, and we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that. And so the book is called The $1 Million Equation: How to Build a 6-Figure Business, 9 Steps to Building a $1 Million Business in Under 3 Years. She is out of Las Vegas. I can't believe her little daughter, which was, her little daughter was like 4 when we met. Now she's like playing volleyball. We're winning volleyball games all over the countryside. Her daughter, Devin. You guys, Richelle Shaw is an amazing woman. I'm so thrilled that you're here. So Richelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. And I'm just sad that we couldn't connect while you were here a couple weeks ago.
I know it's one of those deals where it's actually become kind of funny because my guest on next week's show, she and I hadn't actually physically seen each other in the past 7 years. We both happened to be speaking in Las Vegas this past week, and was the first time we actually got a chance to go to lunch. We were speaking at completely different conferences and conventions. So it's fun. That's the wackadoodle world of living life on your own terms and building businesses around kind of that strategic goal. So
absolutely.
So Richelle, let's jump right into it. This show is all about helping business owners, no matter what level they are, leveling up, skilling up, and really expanding the business. I mean, hence the name of the show is really helping these business owners get in a mindset and action with usable stuff that allows them to save time and make more money. Absolutely. So if we can, I want to spend today talking really about we'll go all over the place. You guys,
we do all the time.
The funny thing is, Richelle and I did an event. I was really honored to have been asked to speak on her summit, which we'll talk about in a minute, at Rapid Growth Domination. It was a fantastic summit, and we scheduled some time and we started chatting, and all of a sudden, next thing, Richelle's like, Case, let's just stop and let's just throw the record button on, and just because we just get into these love fest clash, really driving value conversations. So it was one of my favorite interviews to actually be interviewed on, and we just get along. So Richelle, take me back. Where did the $1 Million Equation come from? Let's start there.
Gosh, several years ago, I really didn't think I knew how to build businesses, to be perfectly honest with you, right? Because I kind of fell into the telephone business, the story that's reported everywhere, because I pretty much tell it all the time, is that I was dating 3 men in 3 different states, and I had a really high phone bill, and I joined the telephone company so I could save money, and ended up buying it from my boss. So here I am with this phone company, took it from 360,000 to 36 million. I am still afraid, I kind of had that imposter syndrome. I think that folks who get it very quickly, like it didn't make sense that it all worked exactly how I thought it would. So I get there and 9/11 happens. I end up losing it all. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I should go back to college. Maybe I should get an MBA. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing. And while I was looking for a job, I decided to do some things that my new book is all about. And that was make connections and look to see if I could rebuild this business. During that time, I kind of did the 9 steps that are in the $1 million equation. And I was able to rebuild back my $1 million business in about 5 months. And then I went, well.
So, and Richelle, I just want to make sure we're super clear. When you say the telephone business, your company was selling phone services to folks all around the country. So like an AT&T, that type of deal. So this was not a network marketing business. This was not an affiliate-based business. This was a bricks and sticks almost type of business we're building, right?
Well, I had 70 employees. I was in, 10,000 square feet. I had my own switch. In order to get certified in every state, the investment was $50,000 per state. So, it wasn't a network marketing. Not that I have anything against it. It's just, this is what I fell into, right? So when I rebuilt it back, I was still kind of unsure, and not positive that I knew how to do this. And it wasn't until I sold it and the person that I sold it to made one payment. And so I'm waiting for my second payment because I, had my beautiful daughter and I was moving off into the sunset, and he didn't pay the second one. And then he didn't pay the third one. And I'm going, what in the world is going on? Well, he ended up losing both my company and his company within 90 days. So I had to figure this thing out. And my very first private client was an OBGYN. And nobody wakes up in the morning and says, "Ooh, I can't wait to get a pap smear." Right? That just doesn't happen.
I hear very often.
Right. It's 2-for-1 mammogram. Right? No, that's not it. And so as I was building his practice, I was implementing the same things that I did in my telephone company, the exact same things. And when it worked, I said, I think I have a formula. I think I have an equation. And so now I've worked with 99 different types of businesses, and it's just basic fundamentals that I think is the easiest, fastest way to get to that 7 figures.
And so, you speak and train all over. I know you and I met at Craig Valine's events out here in Pasadena, California, which I'm so grateful. Craig actually called me and said, "Look, I'm bringing my friend Richelle out and you need to be in the, you need to meet her." I'm like, Craig. And he's like, "No, get in your car and get out here." And I'm so incredibly grateful for that. And your presentation on that $1 million equation was so powerful in terms of creating a step-by-step process. And I think a lot of times, a lot of speakers and gurus and business owners and people that are in the advice business like you and I, we tout systems and processes all the time. Yep. And I find, and I don't know if you have this same experience, but really until, until a business owner really is at the point, that's really at the point where they will surrender to the process or surrender to the system, they're not really in growth mode and willing to take the risk to grow. They're not ready to change. They're not in enough pain to surrender to the system or surrender to the process. And so they want to make up a system. They want to make up their own processes. And I find that when an entrepreneur is to a pain point, I've said this in presentations all over the place, that nothing changes until the pain of changing is less than the pain of staying the same.
That's correct.
So talk to me a little bit about that before we actually jump into the actual equation and kind of some steps. Do you have that same experience as well? I mean, I think from an entrepreneur standpoint, we sometimes feel that we have got it together. We know what we're doing, and it's not that important to look at other people's systems or processes because we figured this whole thing out.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know what that comes from? That comes from the business not working in the beginning, right? So when most entrepreneurs start, people don't believe in them. They're telling them, my mother was the last person to sign up for my telephone service. And actually, I tell this all the time, is that she didn't switch until I bought her a house. And then I installed my phone service in her house and she had to switch. She was like, oh, you don't like to make your bed. So what if I need my phone? What if you don't do, because she has so much information on me, right? She still considered me as a young kid and not as a CEO. So the people around you are kind of naysayers for a long time. And so with that, I think it makes entrepreneurs have really tough skin, and it makes them go, it's almost like a protective thing that we have to put around us to say, I know what I'm doing and I'm confident in it, because if we are vulnerable and if we really tell the truth, then we might lose everything. So I think that that's like their reluctance to really create a business with systems and with bringing in other people, whether it be coaches, consultants, whatever. I mean, that's kind of why I got out of the direct one-on-one coaching business, because it just was, I'm telling you what to do. I had one and we have a loving, caring relationship 8 years in. And one day when it was finally done, because he asked me for a brand new marketing plan, and I couldn't hold it back anymore. And I said, how about you just do the things that I told you to do 20 years ago? How about you just do the things I told you in the beginning? How about you just do the one that I wrote for you 3 years ago? How about you just do, right? Or even the one I asked earlier this year. And it kind of,
a lot of times what happens, I got out of the one-on-one coaching business as well. I mean, now we run a mastermind program that it allows us to have a bigger and broader community.
Absolutely.
But the funny thing is I always find business owners that will hire consultants or coaches or advisors or masterminds or whatever, and they do something and they get a result.
Yeah.
And then they immediately want to do another thing and another thing and another thing. And to your point, it's sort of like, how about we go back to what worked?
Right.
And let's just build on that. It doesn't have to always be something new if we have something in the bucket or in the system that's already actually working.
Yeah. Well, that's the discipline, so I make this point all the time that if you weren't a good employee, you're probably going to have a hard time being a great entrepreneur. And people like push back and they look at me like I'm crazy. And I go, no, here's the reason why, is because those same things that make you a great employee, being disciplined, coming in early, working late, working until it's done, being a problem solver, those are the things that are going to make you a great employee. And if you're not disciplined enough to say, this is working, I'm going to keep doing it, I don't care that I'm bored. I don't care. Just like, I tell the same stories all the time when I'm on stage, right? And they're still funny to a brand new audience. Yep. The only one that gets tired of the story is me. But my audience doesn't get tired of the story. So my job is to deliver as much value as possible, right? And my job as an entrepreneur is to keep solving the problem of the customer. And if it's the way that they like to buy, of course, then that's the way I have to do it. So one of the biggest fights I ever had with the 101, was the time, you wanted me to be super honest. So I'm gonna be super honest with you, right? Was the time I said, well, here's the deal. We're not going to be online. And the client was pissed off. No, well, this is what I want. I want to do a webinar to the thing. And I'm like, you're selling relationship counseling. You're selling relationship counseling. They need to see you. That's what you've done for the last 20 years. You have a group of 700 people that you've helped. So what, you think you're going to go online and get brand new people online? Well, how much money do you have to invest in acquiring new? Well, I'm really willing to about $500. I mean, I was just like, you're crazy. This is never going to work. That's not, the business model doesn't work. And people will not share those intimate details in a webinar. I said, you're trying to do this because you want to make the work easier. And successful entrepreneurs are not thinking about making the work easier, right? They're thinking about, okay, how do I make the work smarter? And they definitely want to save some time, but they don't throw away the whole business model because I don't want to work that hard anymore. No, that's not it.
It's funny you bring up the employee makes a good entrepreneur. One of the things that I just learned very early on from my grandfather about being an entrepreneur was that whatever situation you're in, whether it's a job or a service, you're servicing like at your church or your community organization or whatever, like you want to be able to take that on as if it's your own business and learn as much as you can from that perspective, in addition to picking jobs if you have to, that develop a skill set that helps you as an entrepreneur. Like I have a lot of friends, one of my best friends, he's now like a super fancy consultant and owns a consulting agency to Microsoft, hundreds of employees, the whole deal. I remember him asking me what he needed to do to get a job. And I said, why don't you go sell copy machines through Xerox? Because Xerox had top-notch training for salespeople. They were going to put him in skyscrapers in Seattle and basically go make cold calls and knock down doors on every law attorney office in a skyscraper, get doors. Today, he is one of the most sought after sales trainers, speakers in the world because he took that job on from a skill set.
Yep.
My past is, I used to work at an amusement park and a water park. And, 6 years in, I found myself running the show. And the reason was because I treated that water park like it was mine. Like I knew every number. I did numbers on my own where I was giving the company reports that they were like, wait, we don't even keep track of this.
Yeah.
I treated every customer like they were in my backyard. I treated every customer in every business like that business was my own.
Yeah.
If I had not had that approach, I think I would have made a terrible business owner because I would not have had the same mindset drilled into me from an early age that this is nothing more than finding somebody that has a need, finding something that fills that need, and then making the friction between that project as easy or as frictionless as possible.
Yes. I mean, when I first came to Vegas, I was sleeping on my mom's floor and I got a temp job at our power company here, right? And it was way out in a remote location. And, the one thing that I learned how to do in college was type, which, I'm kind of a particular age. So, and on a computer. So I knew how to do this. So we go out to this remote location. And while I'm there, I was to create a coal report. So as the coal came in on the trains, I would write how much or type on this report, how many pounds was in each train car. Okay, very simple. Except for the fact that they had me doing it on a 2-ply and on a regular typewriter. So you can't make any mistakes, right?
Right.
So I'm there, 2 days and I'm like, oh yeah, no, this can't work. So I asked my boss, I go, what's in that box over there on the floor? She goes, oh, that's some PC, like the IT department hasn't come and set it up yet. And I said, well, do you mind if I set it up? And she goes, well, you know how to do that? I go, yeah. So I take it out of the box. I set it up. This is how old it is. They had Quattro Pro on it, right? Not Excel, not Lotus 1-2-3, Quattro Pro. So I see that it's on there and I'm like, well, it's got to be like Excel and Lotus 1-2-3. So I create the coal reports. I finish them in 8 minutes every day. And the rest of the time I'm just partying. So then I started creating graphs and whatever. So when the gal came back from vacation, she was submitting the reports and her boss, the top boss, actually got promoted, because of the reports that I was creating for them. So I applied for the job. They didn't give it to me because I hadn't been at the company long enough. I'm like, are you kidding me? Here I revolutionized this department. But it was that lesson that I learned that, following instructions is important, but always to look for innovation. So I attribute it to being lazy. I was like, ooh, that seems like a lot of work. How can I find a better way to do it? And no matter what job, shortly after that, I got to the telephone company. I was promoted like you 4 times in 5 years, from just a salesperson to, executive vice president, and then buying the company from my boss. It's like all of that came from me being passionate about doing a great job. Not about the telephone business, but about just being great. And that's what made me an awesome entrepreneur.
So this is a really interesting topic. Let's talk about the phone company for a minute.
Sure.
I know that for me, I believe there are some fundamentals that all businesses need to be able to pay attention to. Your key performance indicators, you're servicing the customer. For me, I train a lot that the easiest group of people to sell to are your current customers, followed closely by your past customers. And the hardest group to sell to in the world are brand new people, but business owners spend a whole lot of time, energy, and money focused on all new customers. I remember when we were talking about the phone company in the past. I'm going to go down 2 roads. I know that your community of customers in the phone company were credit challenged people, if I remember right. They were not a credit worthy customers. Talk to me a little bit about where you saw the opportunity in that B and C level customer, number one. And then I want to talk about the fundamentals of that business as it translates to, could you then buy a glasses making company versus a network marketing company versus a company that makes clothes? Because I really effed that whole deal up. I made $1 million selling a rental company. I thought I was a genius, and then proceeded to buy a clothing manufacturing business, AKA sweatshop, although I'm in marketing, so a perspiration salon. But we made 4,000 pair of pants, women's pants a day. And I cracked up that, I went from not rags to riches. I learned how to go from riches to rags and lose $1 million in just shy of 18 months. It was brilliant. Yeah. I got a good book on that one.
There you go.
But I want to just talk a little bit about the customers that you served. And then do you think that there are some transferable skill sets as entrepreneurs that allow us to move in and out of different businesses?
Yes. So for the original phone company was a brick and mortar long distance company, right? And so that was back when you had to wait till Sunday to call your grandmother. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
And so it was definitely a different type of business. We targeted small businesses. I had every law firm here in Las Vegas. It was just a different pitch. And I grew it that quickly with sales reps. So we had sales reps that were in every networking event that there was here. Back then in Vegas, like you had access to Steve Wynn, definitely attended events. Like, anybody that was powerful in Vegas it was just a small town. So when I lost it all, I had to really rethink how. I knew I couldn't afford salespeople, and I wasn't going to go straight commission, because I think that's you just get people who, and I wasn't up for it. So I said, okay, who is having challenges right now? And in the book, I tell the story of people were suing me, because when you owe $4 million, people aren't nice. And I refused to answer my front door. I wouldn't answer the phone, nothing. And so the doorbell rang, and I'm like, I don't know who that is. No, I'm not expecting anybody. I'm not going to get it. So then I heard my dogs on the side barking. I'm like, is somebody on the side of my house? So I look out the window, and it's the gas truck. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I think they're turning off my gas. So I open the front door, and I said, hey, hold on a second. I'm here. And he goes, lady, it's too late. I'm like, what? I can't believe it. I know it's not a lot. He goes, no, it was $28. And I'm like, well, give me a chance to just pay the $28. He goes, that's why I rang the doorbell. So now you have to go down and pay the deposit and get it turned back on. So when it took me 18 days to get the deposit together, the deposit was $150. And while I was doing this, I was sitting there going, they need to have something that for good people who just get in a bad situation. Like I'm not a bad person. I just had a hiccup here.
You're an entrepreneur, for crying out loud.
That's right. You know, your credit score is a roller coaster, right? And so I laugh all the time. I go, look, mine was 437. 437. That was my credit score at that point. I'm like, what in the world am I going to do? I said, how about I create a telephone company for people like me, who are good people that just had bad things happen? How about I really target credit challenged people? Because there was nothing. The world was treating them like crap. And especially AT&T, our current stuff, they were not only treating them badly, but charging them $500 deposits. And I said, okay, I'm going to get rid of the deposit. I'm going to charge them an activation fee. And so as I'm going through this, I'm going through bankruptcy, and I meet with my bankruptcy attorney. And I said, so what are you doing with all those people who filed bankruptcy? And he said, oh, well, nothing. They're just in a box over there. And I said, really? He said, yeah. I said, can I have them? And he's like, well, yeah, I just have to keep a copy of them, but they're in a box. You have to go in there and sit down because I don't have them on microfiche, or I don't have them on a CD. Remember that microfiche? I'm telling my age, right?
For you millennials, you'll have to just go find the Google machine.
Yeah.
And microfiche. It's probably listed on our Friendster accounts.
But I went in there, and that was my first list that I targeted. And that's who I went after. I had 3,000 people who were in my target market. And so that's how it kind of came up. I did the exact same thing. I offered them a great solution. I said to them, I have a telephone company that'll absolutely guarantee you never get disconnected before. I've created this company for you. I've created this company for those that there's no deposit. You just pay your activation fee, and then you go on from there. And they came and lined up. I was like, because I finally had the right message to the right market, right? And the right media. I just went directly to them. And it was at that point that I said, okay, that's the ticket. So here's what I think what happens is that when we jump around to other ventures, because I've definitely had some that failed, is that I forget that thing there. Like I fall in love with the margin. I fall in love with, I can get this made for $2 and sell it for $200, right? I fall in love with, oh, but these are so cute. These Post-its are so beautiful. I just love that they're the extra super sticky. These are going to be great. And not really fall in love with solving the problem for the customer. So why the telephone business worked so well, why I could build it back so quickly was that I, at that point, was my target market. And I did that very well. Most people don't know their target market intimately enough. You know, I had gone with no heat for 18 days, no hot water for 18 days. I was taking a bath. Luckily in Vegas, it was hot. It was in July. So I ran the water and put the stopper in. So the water was warm from the pipes underneath my house. But there was nothing. There was no flame. I had a crock pot that I could plug in because I had electricity. It's through that adversity that I knew what that customer was thinking. I knew how to talk to that customer. I knew how to develop that message. And that's why I think what happened from you to jump into it, you know?
And from there, when that built out, for me, there was a switch. And I can remember the exact day and where the switch got flipped for me. Was there a moment in building that business where the equation kind of just turned on as a light bulb and said, wait a second, I can apply this to this business, but I can also apply this to an array of other businesses. And more importantly, if I can make this work in various businesses, there might be another market that I can serve, which is our other business owners that are struggling in the same way that you were.
Yeah. Well, I think that the light switch came on when it worked for the OBGYN. You know, we generated 157 referrals in 1 month. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
1 month.
By the way, folks, before we do this whole thing on referrals, which we're going to talk deep into, if you went ahead, I did a recording called Get More Referrals Now. It's a 30-minute recording. It's really kind of a cool little recording, teaching and training people how to generate more referrals in whatever business they're in. And you guys can go grab a copy of that over at expandthebusiness.com. That's just a shameless plug for really so many businesses depend on referrals. And it sounds like we're going to talk about the OBGYN in terms of generating referrals. You guys, there's a great freebie recording over there at expandthebusiness.com. Go check it out. Okay, so OBGYN, 157 referrals in the first month. How, why?
Well, we created a system for it. You know, when I talk to folks and they go, oh, well, all my business comes from referrals, I go, ooh, okay, how's that working?
Oh, Richelle, I just past weekend in Vegas, I literally in my presentation said, this is how it went. This is, I think, what you're going to talk about. Let me just set the scene up because this happens in any size of room of presentation. So I asked the room, I said, how, these were all wedding professionals.
Okay.
So they serviced weddings. They were the caterers, the DJs, the photo booth owners, the florists, that type of stuff, right? I said, how many of you 75% or more of your revenue and business comes from referrals? And I said, raise your hand and keep them raised. Literally almost every hand was raised in the room. And I said, okay, now raise your hand if you can tell me by data, not based on what you think or based on what you dream of.
What you feel.
Based on data, how many of you could tell me the top 3 referral sources or referral partners in your business for the last quarter? Raise them high. Out of the entire room, there were hundreds of people in this presentation. There were 3 people that raised their hand. So the 3 of them, I said, okay, now the 3 of you that still have your hands raised, if I call those referral partners, those referral sources on your telephone, would they A, pick up the phone, and B, when I ask them how you make them feel, will they be able to tell me that you recognize them and make them feel like rock stars? And all 3 of them went, well, they're not even in my phone. I said, so let me get this straight. The 3 of you are the 3 that are above hundreds of people in here because you actually know who these people are, but you don't have them in your phone. Like you're not on the phone with them. You're not, you know, like I've worked with Banner Season and a gift and greeting card platform because it really solidifies those relationships and connections. And so I was like, guys, look, connectivity is today's new currency. I said, you got a lot of hands going up in here. A lot of business owners require word of mouth referrals and don't have systems or processes in place to either develop those partnerships, take care of those partnerships, ensure they don't switch those referrals going to your competitor, which can happen in a blink of an eye.
In a blink of an eye.
So we're generating pap smear referrals.
Yeah, and you know, part of that is we definitely, you know, I created a way to make it easy for the people to refer. You know, that's the biggest part of it is that they go, oh, I was thinking about you last week and I don't remember who I was talking to, but you know, I told them they should call you. And it's like, no, that's, you know, as the dog was on his way to the persimmon patch and stuff, you know, no, right? You have to create a system. So even from how I introduce myself to, you know, people kind of screw up the story, but they're very clear of how to refer me, of how to get me customers, of how to get the doc other patients. So we asked them, who do you know that is blank, blank, and blank, right? Between 18 and 65 and needs a great doctor. And they were like, oh, my grandma, my cousin, my whichever. We gave them postcards that said, my doctor is famous because we had got him on TV. And how about yours? This is what he did for me with great testimonials. And so they handed those out. So we printed thousands of them and left them on the counter so that as each patient left, we gave them 5 of them. Here you go. Who else do you know? And they just couldn't wait to do it. Right? So when they did it, they had a place to put their name so that we would send them a thank you card, encourage them to do it again. We created a referral whole contest, but you know, that's that's not even, I don't think even in the $1 million equation, but I do have some other stuff at Richelle Shaw if you're interested to do that.
RichelleShaw.com, you guys, is where you're going to go. RICHELLESHAW.
Like rich girl, Richelle, right?
Well, so I want to hone in on this for a second, because this is really important.
Yeah.
There is a fine line, I believe, between somebody that asks for a referral and being able to deliver the goods in such a way that you deserve the referral.
Yes.
And you and I were talking before we went on air about just speaking. Like, look, you guys, here's the thing. You're going to want, if you are a promoter or have an association, an event, some environment where you really want somebody to come in and deliver the goods from a speaking trainer, moving people and inspiring people to take action, you want to connect up with Richelle, right? She delivers the goods. And one of the things that I think a lot of speakers have challenges with is they don't deliver the good. They try to create marketing messages where they're trying to fraudulently and manipulatively generate referrals for their speaking business because they think they're awesome. Where if you just have the ability to truly at its core deliver value and deliver the goods on behalf of the promoter, you get asked to speak. That's my sideline tangent of saying, look, if you are out there and you are an event planner, you own an association, you run a networking event, you run webinars, you run summits, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. Richelle is somebody that you can have, like, look, just in this conversation, you already know that the woman can deliver the goods, right? Don't get seduced by glossy postcards for speakers that you don't know can deliver the goods. So going back to this OBGYN, like, let me bounce a couple of things off you, because I use OBGYNs as examples in my presentations a lot.
Okay.
I do. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I know probably too much about OBGYNs, having never been to one or really know what goes on behind closed doors.
Okay.
Right. But here's the thing. So your doctor delivered the goods. Was it a man or a woman?
Man.
Man. So he was obviously very conscientious of the fact that he was dealing with women behind closed doors. Absolutely. He probably made them feel very safe and very comfortable. He probably had a ton of referrals that were captured some way that they could be reinforced when somebody was looking for that.
Yep.
At that point, we asked our customers and our patients to go out and give referrals on behalf of the doc. Well, there is an element, I think, when people get referred business, the person that refers the business, depending on how much influence they have over that person or not, that's going to take the referral online to check out the person they're going to go do. So I get a referral for an OBGYN. I'm going to go online. I'm going to Google. If the OBGYN has no reviews up, there's no online presence, they may lose to somebody that has a better marketing scheme or a marketing plan. So do you think there's a little bit of in today's marketplace, I know this was a few years ago, in today's, there's got to be a little bit of a balance of being able to create an online referral backup process, if you will.
Yes.
And then these postcards, I think, is a genius, easy way that everything from a bricks and sticks pizza parlor to a shoe repair company to a doctor, dentist, lawyer, travel agent, wellness center. I love the idea of the postcard referral ask for.
Yeah. I mean, it was very simple. It worked forever, and it still works. And, I still work with him. So he's still my client, 10 years later. So, so that's a testament also to, obviously, the stuff still works, right? It still did.
And I just want to make sure I'm only clarifying this, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but I want to make sure that as entrepreneurs, as a consultants, at the fundamental core, the doctor still delivers the goods.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So that made it easy. So don't get me wrong. So, I also wrote this one though too, $1 million equation for doctors, right? And I've worked with everything from the rooter to the tutor, right? A podiatrist, dentist, periodontist, optometrist, everything. Because when, of course, the book came out, then other docs were like, help me. And the fundamental problem was that if they didn't get the same results, not because my marketing wasn't fantastic, it was because they weren't fantastic, right? Like my doc, my OBGYN, we had a fun thing in his newsletter, is that we did a survey and said, what's your favorite Dr. Wells name for you, right? Because he calls everybody, honey, baby, sugar mama, whatever. And like, he's so loving and caring. When he comes in, they all just melt and they're like, oh, I love him. He's a caring husband, a caring father. We used his kids in all the marketing. So he was the epitome of an amazing OBGYN, because we were constantly battling women not wanting to go to a man, right? They wanted to go to another woman.
I get it.
And so how did we pitch that? So one of the first things that I did too was I interviewed him. And so I asked him, so why should somebody come see you? And he was fabulous in his answer. And he said, because I'm not a woman, when you tell me that you're in pain, I believe you. When you tell me that you want something changed, I believe you. When you tell me that you're suffering, I believe you, and I work hard to fix it. And that changed everything. Like when he said that during the interview, I was like, oh, okay, let's go make some money. Yes. Because it was at that moment, I knew I had my hook. I knew I had what I needed to do to talk to everybody else. And that's how we pitched it. Look, that's why you want to go to a man, not a woman. And then I told the story of when I went to a woman and she goes, Richelle, everybody has bad cycles, and I ended up in the ER and almost died. And that's actually how I got my daughter, because, I did. I almost died. I was in the hospital 18 days and they took me off all, birth control and medication and whichever. And turns out that, Valentine's Day, I was being nice.
Or naughty, one of the two. But we got Devin out of it, so.
That's right. She's my miracle. Because I was going in to have everything removed. And the doctor said, we can't. And I go, what? I've been in the hospital 18 days. This is crazy. And he goes, we can't because you're pregnant. I'm like, shut up. What? So I knew from 6 days. Yeah. Very high risk. I was in the hospital back and forth. So, that's really kind of shaped my life. And I'm like crazy mom now.
And so how did that process fit into the overall equation? I mean, maybe we should just start with, tell me, give me like give everybody like the top line equation.
Perfect.
And then let's continue to dive into this on the OBGYN for just a few more minutes. Cause then I want to move to doing online summits.
Yeah. Cause we're going to run out of time. Oh my gosh. We always do this.
I know. Well, you're going to have to come back for sure.
So the $1 million equation is 1GS, which is you need to have a great solution. You need to be able to solve someone's problem. So for the OBGYN, his was, I'm a male, so I don't know what you're experiencing, and I'm here to fix what your problem is, right? For the telephone business, it was, we are making this wonderful phone company for people who are credit challenged, so that you never have to worry about getting disconnected again. Right. So it's having a great solution is step number one. Step number two is having a target market, understanding who that target market is and what they like, what they don't like, what their problems are that you can solve. So that's step two, a target market. Step three is to schedule your success. Like it shouldn't be random. Random implementation gets you random money. So I want you to have some type of marketing calendar, something that you're doing so that you know what you're promoting every single day. So today is the 18th, right? So in my telephone business on the 18th, I would be preparing the people who are going to be disconnected on the 20th. I'd also be, printing out the inserts, which was the monthly promotion for my telephone company. Every month we did something to get my credit challenge customers to pay their bills. So if you're credit challenged, like I gave them caller ID, so they knew it was me calling, right? So they were like, oh, I know I owe this bill. I'm not going to pick up the phone. So instead of calling them to say, Casey, your bill is due, I'd say, Casey, are you coming Friday for roll the dice? You go, what roll the dice? What are you talking about? I'm like, roll the dice. So you'll roll the dice, and whatever you roll, you'll get that amount off of your bill. They're like, what? Okay. I said, but Friday's the last day to pay. So they would come, they would pay on time. So I actually won the telecommunications award for collection rate highest in the nation. I had 92% collection rate on a prepaid account. Are you kidding me? Right? But it was because I made sure that at every point I was using my marketing to get the customer to do what I want, to pay on time, right? To stay with me and to refer, to stay, pay, and refer, period. That's what my job was. So the fourth piece of the $1 million equation is FU. And those who know me go, oh, Richelle, is it saying that? And it's like, no. It's really in your follow-up. What is your follow-up? Do you have it automated? Do you not have it automated? Do you know what you're doing? I watch people go to networking. They come back with a stack of cards, and then they flip through and go, yeah, I liked her. Instead of having a standard follow-up. I would write my follow-up before I went to the event. So that when I came back, it wasn't up to my idea. It wasn't up to my emotion. It wasn't up to my, I think I like them. It was totally reliant on the system so that I would get people who maybe weren't that outgoing, but needed my product or service. Then we go into the 3 R's. So that's referral, retention, and reactivation. So those are the things that you actually talked about earlier, which is really the cornerstone of the $1 million equation is, you need those referrals, but you need to make sure that you have a system in place so that you are acknowledging them. I have 7 steps in the book that all need to take place to make sure that the system works. The second one is retention. How are you putting a gate around your customers so that they can't jump ship? Right? Because it's very easy for them to go somewhere else. How are you doing that? So that's why we played games at Fresh Start, and we acknowledge them. When they pulled an ace and got a free month of service, I would take a picture and put their picture on the wall. Do you know that they would bring their friends to show them that their picture was up on the wall of my office?
That's why I've used greeting cards and gifts like crazy for this. And you put somebody's picture of them holding that ace and send it to them in a greeting card or on the front of a coffee mug or a water bottle. Like it's game on.
It's over, right? It's a wrap. It's like, okay, on to the next. How do I keep doing that? So the retention part of it is where I spend the most part of my marketing budget is in retaining those that I have. So one of my original ebooks that I wrote was, customers for life, how to keep them forever. Would your business look different if every customer you ever got was still paying you? Well, yeah, that's why, with the doctor still paying me 10 years later. Well, actually his daughter's 11. So 11 years later, his wife was pregnant with her. 11 years later, does that change the income? Does that expand your business.com? Right? Of course it does. It expands the business when you keep them and retain them. So if you are spending and implementing in your business to keep every single customer, making them happy, using something like banner season, sending systematic gifts, how do you do that, right? You put it on autopilot so you don't have to think. So you don't go, ooh, my cash flow is a little tight this month. I don't think I'm going to send out the gift. No, because that's going to stop the expansion of the business. And then the third R is reactivation. So in the telephone business, this is how I used it all the time, is that I would send them an I'm sorry letter. And it would say, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. I don't know how you're not a client, but here, I need to change something. I changed this. We'd love to have you back. And here's a discount coupon. It was a Monopoly card that said, get out of jail free. So I was like, here, I need you to have phone service. So go ahead, use this card. You can come back. Now, here's the deal. I knew exactly why they weren't my customer because I disconnected them. Right? But I didn't call them and say, look, I know you didn't pay me, so you can come back, but you have to pay my balance. No, I waived that balance. I said, I don't know what happened, because you have to take the responsibility off the customer. You have to make them feel good. They felt great when I gave them a get out of jail free. So that kept them going in the retention. Reactivation, we did it for the doc. I constantly send a reactivation campaign every 3 months if they haven't been in to see him, especially with his hormone-based product. So it all just works. I don't care if you're selling clothes, if you have a network marketing, if whatever it is, there should be an alarm bell that goes off that says this person should be buying from me again. And you need to have a system that makes that happen. The reason why most people buy the $1 Million Equation book is for 85W. So that is 85 ways to get a new customer. What is that for? Well, I read in this book as I was rebuilding my telephone company. I just was putting my head down, doing everything I could to build it. I didn't even really know that I had hit the million in 6 months. I didn't. I was just, okay, let's get another customer, Let's keep these. Let's have this party. But I was reading about a chiropractor who built $1 million practices. And he said that every time he would go into a market and build $1 million practice. So they asked him, well, how did you do that? And he said, well, I figured out that I needed 72 new patients, brand new patients, every single month. And I went, well, okay, so, what's the one thing that you did to get 72 new patients? And he said, I don't know one way to get 72 new patients, but I know 72 ways to get one. And every month I do all 72 ways. And that changed my life because I said, okay, well, that's the problem is I'm not doing enough ways to get multiple. And I went after to try to get as many as I could, at least 72. And then in the book, I show 85 different things that you can do to get a brand new customer.
So I can hear people, Richelle, I can hear it right now. I know I'm going to get emails. I know what the Facebook messages are going to be. I know what the responses are going to be. They're going to say, 85 ways. Are you out of your ever-loving mind? I listened to this guru and they said, do one way really, really awesome.
Yeah. Because
I've always been terrified of that because for me, if you get really good at, say, Facebook and our political system changes in a little bit of time, there are a couple of people that Facebook may not be an option.
That's right.
Or people that are like, oh, I'm only going to put all my money into Facebook and Instagram. I'm like, honey, they are owned by the same person.
Yeah.
If something goes wrong,
Yeah.
So 85 different ways to get one new customer. That's a unique approach.
Yes. Well, it's actually an old school approach, right?
Ah, very good.
But I think that what's going on now is that, the same thing with the guru who's telling you to just do one way. He's selling you his system for the one way, right? So it's like my daughter was telling me a story about one of the girls in school. And I said, here's an important lesson I want you to know. You have to look at who's telling you the story because it's always skewed, right? So we had this conversation about Jesus being black. She goes to a Christian school and I was telling her about, well, Jesus is black. And she's like, what? I've never seen a picture. All the pictures of Jesus white. I said, well, okay, so think about where is Jerusalem? Where is Egypt? She's like, I said, what continent is it on? Well, Africa. Oh, uh-huh. How can he not be brown? Yep. You know what I'm saying? And in the Bible, it talks about his hair is coal. And, I'm like, come on. I said, you have to think about who this story serves. Who does it serve? And so with it, that's how I look at marketing. Who is it serving? Right? Yes, if I put everything in Facebook ads, but then what happens when I get blocked or my ad account gets taken down? And so even in the telephone business, I was doing radio ads. And so a guy that I sold a previous company to was telling me that he wanted to go on the radio. And so we made a pact because he also had a telephone company and I was borrowing his carrier until I made my money back to get my own. And so we made a pact that we wouldn't go on the same radio station. And that worked until one day he came to deliver a check for the other business and my line was wrapped outside the door. And that next week he went on the same radio. He gave more features than I was giving for less money. And my 400 calls that I was getting a month went down to 40. I could have been out of business if I didn't have those other 84 ways that I was getting a new customer, right? And he was shocked that I didn't go. Like he was really shocked. He was, wow, things are still great. Yeah, things are great, which he was trying to buy me for years. And then when I finally said yes, after I had my daughter and I I had lost my sister-in-law in a car accident, and we went to the funeral. And when we were driving back, the other sister was driving to Oklahoma from the funeral, and a truck hit her and killed her. Oh. So I lost both of them in 9 days. And at that point I said, I will never work 24 hours a day again. You know, I've got this miracle, you know, what am I doing? Mm-hmm. And that's when I decided to sell. And then turns out that, you know, that didn't all work, but it helped me develop the $1 million equation. So I am a true believer in everything happens for us, not to us. And so the last piece of it is remembering that there's only 3 ways to grow a business. 3. That's it. 3 ways. The first way is to go get a brand new customer. And that's where most entrepreneurs stay. But the second way is to get your existing customer to spend more money with each transaction. And so I explained this like the grocery store. Where's the milk? Right? It's in the back corner all the way. Well, why is that? Because they got you in the store. Now they want you to say, oh, okay, well, let me get some chips. Ooh, there's some ice cream. Okay, you know what? We are out of bread. Well, you know, the lettuce went bad. We need some apples. So now instead of just going to get the milk, you've got a full cart. And then when you get in the in to check out, they double down on you. And they've got Tic Tacs, they've got Visine, they've got nail clippers, they've got magazine, they've got candy, they've got anything they can do to expand the transaction. So even when I go into a business, I first look at, okay, how can I expand every transaction to get people to buy more? Amazon has mastered this, right?
Mastered it.
People buy this, also buy this. Same thing. And so the third way is to get your customers to come back more often. Very simple. Have them come. If they're only buying from you 1 time a year, you need to have them come back. So even one of my private mastermind clients was a business tax attorney and preparer. So he had this whole thing, and all he did was do their taxes 1 time a year. I said, so if it's not about getting new customers, right? How are you going to keep them? You need to add a service that bills monthly. So we added a bookkeeping service. It was one gal who did the data entry who generated another $250,000 to his bottom line. Done, right? So it's really, when you look at your business, the $1 million equation can be boiled down into these 3 things. And when I do live events, when people come out to hang out here in Vegas, which I'll have one in January, is that they look at all of these 3 things. You know, I have them break it down. Okay, let's figure out how we can expand every transaction. Do you have a warranty? Do you have an upsell? Do you have a downsell? Do you have something else that you can sell them in this one transaction to make sure that it all happens? Think of when you go to buy a car at the dealership, right? Your payment is $299 and you leave out and your payment is $600. It's like, how did that happen? Yeah. That's the extended warranty and the tire warranty and oil changes for life and all of these crazy things. Or when you have a brand new house and you put the shutters and you put the flooring in and you put all of this, and all of a sudden they've expanded the transaction. So while you're here, I help you do that thing. And then the last part is, how can you get them to come back more often? Do you have other products and services you can sell them? And if you don't, then we go into creation mode to make sure that you do. So, that was supposed to be 4 minutes, and I think that was a little longer.
No, I love it, because this is a thing, is that what you've laid out is really a blueprint in steps that a business owner can first evaluate where they are.
Yeah.
And go, okay, well, look, I only am generating clients one way, and that's because I'm going to BNI.
Yeah.
Right? Or I'm only generating clients because I happen to have a bricks and sticks store in a strip mall where the current customers are driving by. Right?
Yep.
So I love that. I love the fact that having a scheduled calendar, scheduling follow-ups, so that you are removing the pieces that require lots of effort, mm-hmm. and being able to automate. I mean, I find fascinating so often, and I'm going to make an executive producer of the show decision on air, and we're going to finish up the show today on $1 million equation.
Yeah.
But I do want to spend a lot of time diving into the online summit world.
Okay.
So if it's cool with you, I'm going to have you back and do another episode where we just focus just on that. And then we'll send everybody back to this show.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
So, so it's important for businesses to look at how are they generating customers? How are they, I said it, I think I've said it in this show already that, we look at the easy way to sell is more to each customer, then bring back the people that are dead. They left because you didn't care about them, quite frankly, most often. And third, then it's about those new customers. So if you've got some automated ways to generate new customers, and you have systems and processes in place, like you said, you went back to everybody that had left every 3 months to reactivate them, which is essentially bringing people back from the dead.
Yep.
And then offering on top of that, exploring opportunities where to add value so that that customer will buy more and buy more often.
Yeah.
And so long as you're providing the goods and delivering the goods, everything really seems to work itself out.
Yeah. Oh, it definitely does, because you are, it is also this gratitude effect, right? And so we know that when you are taking care of your existing, that you get more, period. And so it's not even, yes, I have a referral system, but I'm ready when they're ready. And it's the same thing with the marketing. Like, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know when people are ready to buy. So you have to be consistent. And as soon as you stop being consistent, that's when your revenue starts to fluctuate. So even with getting a new customer, I used to ask people all the time, did they get one of these things in the mail? Right.
Yep.
And everybody's like,
for those of you that are listening, it's your standard Bed Bath and Beyond, or as I like to refer to them as buy, break, and return. 20% off coupon. Yes.
So it comes, it's coming, and that's their machine. Right? That's their machine of getting customers to come back, getting somebody to come and see them again. They know that it works. Unfortunately, they haven't built some other stuff out, and the store is set up horribly, and Amazon is killing them now, so they're closing stores, right? But for years, this was their bread and butter. So those that can't see it, but this was it, right?
Yep.
So what I like to do.
By the way, as a total side note, for those of you, this is how when we talk about opportunity and expanding the business and looking at things differently, I don't know what it is now because I haven't done this in years, but I used to have a couple of younger kids whose parents asked me to help their kids come up with a business.
Yeah.
And so we did this thing where we had all the kids in the neighborhood go around when those coupons would hit mailboxes and ask if they could have those coupons.
Yeah.
And then we turned around, and at the time you could sell those 20% off coupons on eBay, and they were running between $8 and $10 a piece. So we had these kids going around in the neighborhoods, because not everybody in the country gets them, collect all those 20% off coupons, and then go flip them right on eBay for $8 to $10 a piece. And that's how we created these little kid businesses that were simple and easy.
Casey, I love it. I so love that. I so love it, because they try to make it so complicated, and that whole do what you love and the money will follow. I'm like, well, I like to eat Mexican food and lay on the beach, and I haven't found anybody to pay me for that, right? But there's so many crazy opportunities. So even with this, right? With this is that you have to have a machine. You have to know, how you get people to come back. And it cannot have any type of emotion attached to it. Because as soon as you attach emotion, then you run off the railings. It has to be black or white. Results rule, period.
You have to be able to also, the thing about those 20% coupons from buy, break, and return that works so effectively is, you said it earlier, it's coming.
Yep.
Right? It's same thing like with expand the business. So I say throughout the show, hey, look, if you want to generate more referrals, head over to expandthebusiness.com. If you like what you see, you can get your download. We're going to send you some brownies. I shouldn't say that. We're going to send you some surprises if you go over to expandthebusiness.com. Well, the reality is that by continuously making that offer over and over and over again, there are going to be some people that are just never going to go to expand the business. They're listening to this on the gym treadmill, or they're listening to it in Starbucks or wherever. Yeah. There are other people that are going to be like, oh, well, he's said it a few times. Richelle has talked about it a few times. I'll go check out expandthebusiness.com and see what it's all about.
Right.
That's because there's a consistent messaging. I don't have an emotional response one way or the other. Same with RechelleShaw.com, right?
Right.
You said that multiple times. I do want to give a plug to your summit that you're on, that you're doing, even though we're not going to talk about it on this episode because we're running out of time. But you guys need to check out rapidgrowthdomination.com. We'll put the links in the show notes for sure. And I'll put obviously Rechelle's book links in the show notes as well. So how do we bring that whole equation together? Where does somebody start? Like I can hear I'm running a pizza parlor, or I'm running a network marketing business, or I'm running a nail salon. Like, where do I even start, Richelle? Do I start with getting the book and starting, or what do I do?
Yeah, I mean, that's always a start. There is the abridged 9 step on RechelleShaw.com. That's a quick read, and then you can go back through it just like I was telling you here. And really, how you start tomorrow or this afternoon, this weekend, get your list of people who haven't spent money with you in the last 3 months. Go get that and write that I'm sorry. Get a postcard, something, a little, go to the Dollar Tree and grab, 10 of the cards, thank you cards, and say, I've missed you. I'm sorry I haven't followed up with you, and I just wanted to reconnect. It's great to hear from you, whatever, and see what happens. And right there, even if it's a pizza joint, even if it's a network marketing, even if it's a sales organization, I don't care what it is.
I run a business coaching, training, mastermind accountability program called the Platinum Inner Circle. And as you were saying that, I literally wrote down a bunch of notes to myself because we're not a small ticket item. We're not a $200 a month program, right?
Right.
But I look at all the people over the past 5 years that have moved on out of the program. Now we have a really, really high retention rate, but we've lost people. And I can't imagine that there aren't some of those folks that if I did that, I mean, one of them coming back into our inner circle would be a huge coup in terms of, that's a heck of a lot easier than trying to go schlep around finding a brand new person.
Or do write a free ebook and a 17-step follow-up. And it's like, what? Just reach out. And it's those just basic things that I think that shiny object followers, as we are as entrepreneur, right? We're squirrel, we're always looking for this latest and betas. And as we go around, but really start with your customer and just get intimately clear about what their goals are. And if you can solve their problem, then they're really easy. Then the money just continues to flow. And then make sure that you have the systems in place to make sure that you follow up in your marketing calendar and that you're consistent. So even on the summit, when we come back and talk about it, but one of my favorite clients ever is on the summit talking about his marketing calendar. He has a multi-million-dollar chiropractic practice that they've got 11,000 people in the small town that he's in, and he has 50% of them as clients. It's ridiculous. I feel sorry for his competitors, but he's consistent. He gives gifts away. His biggest months have now been February when it's, knee high in snow. I mean, it's all fun to just listen to him apply the $1 million equation. So that's fun. But anyway, when we come back and we start doing it, it is no longer live, just so you know, but it doesn't mean that the information isn't valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys, a couple of follow-ups to all of this. We'll put Rechelle's books, The $1 Million Equation show in the show notes, as well as Jackpot, How to Build a $1 Million Equation. Plus, if your new book is ready to go, we'll throw that in there as well. You guys need to really go check out 2 sites from Richelle, RechelleShaw.com, RICHELLE, SHAW.com, and rapidgrowthdomination.com is where you can get a bunch of information as well. But go visit RechelleShaw.com. Richelle, before I close out here, I just want to say it is awesome. And I just love and adore you. And I love and adore how committed to helping other business owners really expand their business and their vision with some practical A, B, C, D, E. And for me personally, one of the things I'm going to take away out of our chat today that is going to go back and look at is go back to the reactivation piece and go back. And I have the copy of the book in my hands and expanding the number of ways to generate a client that we currently use in our business. So I am so filled with gratitude that you could take time away from that volleyball playing daughter of yours.
Yes.
To be a part of the Expand the Business show. So thank you so very much.
Oh, I'm honored to be here. You know, Casey, anything you need.
Awesome. So you guys, hey, this show lives and dies by reviews on iTunes, Google Plus, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcast. Would absolutely love for you to give us a referral. Now Richelle's got me thinking I'm gonna have to figure out some way to help those referrals in reviews come down. I'm sure we'll have a conversation after the show. But you guys, once again, if you want to generate some referrals and you work with referrals in your business, head over to expandthebusiness.com. Grab your free goodies over there. I promise you, especially after this show, we'll definitely be taking care of you even better than we do already. So also, I know Richelle is all over social media. You don't have to click hard to find her. She's all over every platform. And with that, you guys, go out and give somebody an absolutely awesome day. And while you're there, help serve your customers even better. So with that, you guys have an amazing day. Go out and give somebody else an awesome day. And we'll see you next time on the Expand the Business Show. Thanks, guys.